Hey guys, this is Animedesu, and this is a recap of the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human Season 1. Ike is a magician in the Demon Army who has demonstrated such incredible power and talent that he has been elevated to commander in the war-torn regions in this realm. He commands his warriors on the battlefield while strategizing how to knock down the formidable fort of Arenum. Humans and monsters slaughter each other by the hundreds on the battlefield, vying for mastery over the other race, while Ike stands on a rock and observes the carnage. After a protracted battle, they finally smash through the castle's main gate and enter, but the humans do not back down, fighting fiercely and sacrificing their lives to protect their stronghold. The Lord Commander of the humans observes the action from his window, secure within the castle, when Ike suddenly decides to pay him a visit. Since he does not want to lose so many lives, the commander turns around and appears to know Ike right away since his stories are widely circulated. Ike admits that he is the leader of the 7th Legion of the Demon King Army, also known as the Immortal Brigade. He continues to offer the commander 3 potential alternatives. He informs the commander that he may surrender peacefully and become a prisoner of war. He can commit suicide to defend his honor, or, if he lacks respect, he can just climb out the window and flee. The commander smirks at him before declaring that he will not accept any of the possibilities presented by a traitor to his own people. He rushes forward with his sword to strike, but it is ineffective as Ike knocks him out cold on the floor with a single sweep of his wand. Piggy, his personal assistant, enters unexpectedly and inquires as to what should be done with the prisoners of war. Ike turns around and orders him to cure the commander, as well as anybody who surrenders without a struggle, startling Piggy and a suspiciously gorgeous woman who watches him via a crystal ball and appears impressed by his ability to conquer such an important fortress with a single brigade. After that, Ike creates a magical barrier over the entire place, preventing anybody from entering the battlefield. While looking outside to witness the demons treating innumerable human losses and injuries, he feels horrible about witnessing these horrors and has never liked the way war works, but he has no option but to battle indefinitely. Something he is unaccustomed to, because he is a human disguised as a demon. He was abandoned at birth, but a demon wizard named Romberg decided to take him in on a whim. Romberg was an incredible magician and instructor who frequently spoke about a period when humans and demons could coexist. Romberg taught him everything he knew about magic, and before dying, he summoned him to his chamber and instructed him to always wear the mask and the robe, as if the Demon King discovers that he is not a demon, he will be tortured and executed instantly. Ike sits down in the chair to rest after placing a magical field around the area to prevent anybody from entering without his permission. However, he spots a scared maid beneath the table who instantly begins apologizing and sobbing, saying she didn't see anything. She ends up striking her head on the table and passing out. As Ike wonders how to cope with the situation, he chooses to think about it later while Piggy invites him outside. They walk through the streets, viewing the devastation created by the war. Piggy questions why Ike spares so many humans. Ike curtly responds that the current Demon King is only concerned with the outcomes, not how they are achieved. However, he states that many demons believe Ike is too kindly with humans, and that it would be better if they slaughtered all of the citizens and set fire to the streets. Ike refuses to do anything like this, telling Piggy that people must pay taxes because war is expensive. Furthermore, Arsum is a commerce city, and humans are required to maintain it. The huge Piggy appears to be confused as Ike comes to a halt when a group of humans approaches. Piggy instantly cautions them and tells them to piss off, but Ike instructs them to say anything they want. One of the locals inquires as to how much more tax they will be required to pay to the demon army. To their astonishment, Ike informs them that taxes will remain the same as before, which makes them delighted. However, he cautions them that if they attempt to defy the soldiers, they will be punished. While he is saying this, he vanishes in a dazzling light, shocking Piggy. Ike is horrified when he finds himself in a dark dungeon and is quickly assaulted by a gigantic monster. He dodges the punch and flees, swearing at the unknown woman that she shouldn't have called him in like this. The demon continues to assault him, so he produces a wand from his ass and executes a specific magic strike to defeat it immediately. The lady appears alongside him and swears that she last saw him as a child hiding behind Romberg. She states that the golem was also fairly powerful, implying that Ike has become even stronger. Sapphire was Ike's supervisor and the only demon that is aware of his secret. He warns her not to call him like this, but she insists that it is more fun that way. He asks whether she's come to report on the war effort, but she declines, stating she witnessed everything and that his execution was immaculate. She ultimately admits that the Demon King wished to meet him. This surprises him because a Demon King does not need to meet with a brigade leader. He inquires about the capture, but Sapphire responds that the Demon King may only be interested in how he took Arsum in a week. She instructs him to prepare and then teleports them to the Demon King's fortress. This is his first time seeing the castle, and he is surprised by its size. They approach the main entrance, which is guarded by a horde of demons, and Ike asks Sapphire if he will be examined before entering. Sapphire responds that the Demon King is the most important person in their realm, and of course the guards inspect everyone. This makes Ike worried since he cannot let his identity known, but she assures him not to worry. Surprisingly, as soon as the guards see him, they are overcome by his magical aura and quickly step aside, claiming that they expected nothing less from the grandson of the legendary magician Romberg. They both enter the corridor and begin walking with Sapphire flying beside him. He considers how, despite knowing how to fly, he is not quite as skilled as her. They finally arrive at the courthouse where Sapphire instructs him to wait since she will enter first and summon him. While she's gone, he considers how the current Demon King, Darrow, is renowned to be both skilled and vicious. According to him, humanity were winning the fight until the current Demon King altered everything in one battle. He is known to be merciless to unskilled individuals, but he also rewards anybody who demonstrates brilliance and competency, regardless of whether they are from a well-known demon nobility or an ordinary person. Ike had been longing to see him for a long time, and he is ready to say something to him when Sapphire interrupts his thoughts and beckons him inside. He approaches the courtroom with his head lowered, but the biggest shock of his life comes when he puts his head up to find a female seated on the throne. Like any other sexist, he assumes she is the Demon King's daughter, but he quickly sees his mistake and bends down to her. She looks at him and says it is astonishing that he was able to take Arsam in just a week. Ike instantly bows down, claiming that he was only obeying Sapphire's orders. Darrow observes this right away and notes how he responds just like a person would. Ike recognizes he needs to tone down his humility, but happily, Sapphire comes to his rescue and informs Darrow that Ike is Romberg's grandson. Darrow grins, indicating that she understands where Ike gets his war tactics, but she continues to question why he is so focused on ensuring that none of the humans die until absolutely necessary. He quickly becomes concerned, thinking that he should have executed a few of them, but realizes that he cannot do it to an innocent person. He chooses to speak out, telling her that people are scared of demons, but fear does not breed loyalty or efficiency. He says that regardless of who governs the region, folks would follow someone who is competent and can assist them in improving their circumstances. The Demon King is pleased, and she instantly teleports in front of him, declaring that he is truly unique among demons and expressing her desire to see the true face behind that mask. Before departing the court, Ike quickly falls to the ground, afraid, and breathes a sigh of relief, telling Sapphire that terrible things are bad for his heart.
まだ会話を始めてさほど時間は経っていないが、おそらくロンベルクと同じく。
やはり貴様はの顔を見せてほしいものだ。
生きた心地がしなかった。こんななりをしてますが、これが仮面だってバレちゃいましたよ。
Sapphire advises him to cheer up since Darrow has decided to reward him, and he is meant to rule over the city of Arsam. He instantly teleports back to the castle in Arsam, where he discovers the maid sleeping on his chair, but she quickly rises and begins apologizing. He assures her not to worry since he would not injure her and asks for her name. She calls herself 13 and says that all slaves are assigned numbers rather than names. She states that her true name was studied before she became a slave, so Ike chooses to call her by that name solely. He informs her that she has already seen his actual identity, hence he cannot let her go. When she hears this, she rushes at him and begins weeping, but he begs her to calm down since he's not going to murder her. He informs her that she would be his personal maid from now on, and she quickly accepts. Later that day, he walks out to assess the damage to the city and knows that they must repair the fortifications since if the humans decide to strike, the city will fall instantly. He asks Piggy how long it will take to rebuild the defenses, and Piggy responds that if they utilize solely human labor, it should take 6 months. Ike realizes it's too long, and to Piggy's astonishment, informs him that they have 1 month to complete the task. Piggy believes that it is impossible, but Ike devises a strategy in which humans and demons collaborate. Piggy has never seen anything like this before, and he understands he is actually following a genius. Ike schedules shifts so that the job may be completed 24 hours a day, and the workers are even rewarded for their efforts, which encourages them to accomplish more. Piggy understands he is actually following a mastermind as he begins to shed tears of pleasure and considers how everyone would benefit if Ike became the new Demon King. Some time passes by when, one day, Ike gets the news that the Demon King has decided to put him in charge of getting information about a probable alliance being formed by the human kingdoms. During the last battle, the demons faced a sizable human army, which couldn't be from a single kingdom alone. Sadi seems to have gotten quite comfortable with him now, so he decides to take her alongside him to the nearby kingdom for some reconnaissance. While there, Sadi ends up getting distracted by a trickster, but Ike reveals that the trickster is running a scam before taking Sadi away. As they walk, they munch on some fruits, and Ike tells Sadi that he thinks the humans are definitely forming an alliance. Sadi seems confused, so Ike explains that whenever something life-threatening like the Demon King has emerged, the humans set aside their differences and join the forces of all the human kingdoms together to fight against their common enemy. According to Ike, this alliance has been made 3 times in history. And every single time, the Alliance was able to defeat the Demon King's army completely and managed to push them all the way back to their castle. She asks whether the humans will win this time as well, which confuses Ike, as she should root for the humans. But she replies that the humans have never been nice to her and made her a slave. If the demon army never invaded, she would have been like the other slave children in the cage forever. Ike realizes how cruel every single society is, and reassures Sadi that the current Demon King is the wisest and strongest in several centuries. Before they could talk more, however, a voice stops them. When Ike turns around, he spots the trickster alongside a fat goon shouting at him for revealing his tricks. Ike tells him that he was running a scam and not a trick, but the trickster gets mad and tells him that he will have to pay for what he did. This annoys Ike, who looks around to check whether anyone is around before pulling out his magic wand and using ice magic to freeze the fat goon's feet. The trickster is shocked to see that Ike is a magician, but before he could react, Ike creates a bunch of icy spears and aims them towards the trickster, telling him to apologize.
さっきカップに細工した責任は取ってもらうぞ。
それはあなたがイカ様を。
体でも払ってもらおう。
人もいないし。
なんだそれは。あいつらは。
The trickster thinks Ike is bluffing and starts cussing him out, but Ike stabs him with one of the spears in his arm, showing that he means business. After that, he asks the trickster whether he has any information about the happenings in this kingdom. Fearing for his life, the trickster reveals that the alliance has been made between the kingdoms, but the kingdom of Rosaria is planning a surprise attack on the demons to gain an advantage and a chance at glory. Ike thinks that it makes perfect sense and asks the trickster where they are planning their attack. For some reason, this scummy trickster knows all the details about the war plans and tells him that the city of Arsam will be attacked because its defenses are weak right now. Ike has heard all he wanted to know and leaves alongside Sadi back to their city to plan the defense. That evening, the army of Rosaria sends a battalion to invade the city of Arsam, but before they could even ready their siege weapons, skeletons start popping out of the ground. Their leader, named Ali, tells them to maintain formation as skeletons are weak, but unbeknownst to them, they walk straight into an ambush as arrows start falling on them like hailfire, while a bunch of orcs exit from the jungle and start smashing their army. Ali realizes that Arsam was prepared for this attack and that they have walked into a trap which might destroy the entire Batire battalion. She immediately calls her soldiers to form a retreating line and make sure no one gets left behind. While this was happening, Ike and Lord Jiren were watching this unfold from the walls. Lord Jiren praises Ike because without him they would have definitely fallen for a surprise attack. Before Ike could even reply though, someone shoots an arrow from behind which hits Ike in the back and he falls to the ground, unconscious. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself in bed with Saphiro, who claims that she was called by Jiren after Ike got hit and she was able to quickly heal him, otherwise he could have died. She congratulates him on crushing the surprise attack, but tells Ike that even this time, the human casualties were bare minimum. She tells him that the Demon Lord might get suspicious if this keeps happening, but Ike replies that no matter what, his primary goal is to make this world suitable for both humans and demons to live together, just like Ra imagined. She tells him to take care and disappears while he calls in Jiren and tells him to figure out what happened to the commander of the human forces. Jiren replies that the commander ended up getting imprisoned by her senior officer, who claimed that she was a disgrace as she retreated from the battlefield. The next morning, Ike decides to head over to the prison where she was kept as he wanted to meet her once, but he ends up getting followed by Lily, who is his underling but way too annoying for him. He tells her to stay silent or go away, but she stays by his side as they spy on the few guards in front of the prison. She asks whether she should destroy the two men so he can go inside, but Ike responds that he doesn't want to create a scene right now. Before he could stop her though, that imbecile went ahead and beat up the guards, claiming that she didn't kill them just as he wanted. They enter the prison, which turns out to be bigger than he imagined, and he realizes that it will take much more time to find the commander. But Lily ends up beating the information out of one of the guards, who tells her that the commander is on the top floor and even gives the keys.
警備はあまり厳しくないようですね。
なるべく穏便に。
アイク様、それなら心配ご無用。
思ったより広いな。
一番上の階にいるんですって。
While they were moving towards the stairs, some other guards get alerted and attack them, but Lily hands the keys over to Ike and tells him to move ahead while she deals with them. Ike moves ahead and turns back to watch the guards getting demolished but keeps moving forward. Soon he reaches the top floor and opens the cell, only to find it completely empty. He enters inside when suddenly the commander attacks him from behind, which he barely dodges. She grabs a knife and starts attacking him again, but he somehow manages to slip by and takes out his staff before knocking her down to the floor. He lets her get up while she asks him whether he came here to laugh at her for losing or if he wants to kill her, but Ike replies that he only came to know whether she sent an assassin to infiltrate Arsam and kill him. The woman looks surprised and asks him whether he is actually a human, which catches Ike off guard. Suddenly, his thoughts are broken by the sound of guards rushing to the top floor, and the commander takes advantage of his distraction and puts a knife to his throat, asking him to tell honestly whether he is a demon or a human. Ike has no idea what to do as he contemplates if he should reveal his true identity or not. Ike realizes that he needs to do something before he gets into trouble, so he uses a special magic which slows the time around him. This surprises Alistair, who immediately realizes that something is wrong, but he tells her not to worry as it will wear off soon. He casually walks past her and towards the guards, walking in slow motion. They don't seem to be moving aside, so he uses his black wind magic to immediately blow one away before he can react. However, he gets attacked from behind by a large knight carrying a morning star. The fat knight misses the swing as Ike masterfully sidesteps him. Before the knight can regain his balance, Ike uses a gravity spell from his arsenal, forcing him to the ground. The ramp breaks under the weight, and the knight falls down. Elise seems confused, wondering why Ike isn't killing the guards when he easily could. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet collapses and unable to move, she falls down as well. Thankfully, Ike saves her life by grabbing her midair and carefully dropping her on the floor. He apologizes for the mayhem and introduces himself as Ike, the commander of the Immortal Brigade. He answers her previous question by stating that he is obviously a demon, as humans are not allowed in the demon army. Elise still doesn't seem satisfied, but Ike moves on and asks her once again whether she sent an assassin to kill him during their last battle. She holds her mouth shut, claiming that she is a knight of the kingdom and wouldn't reveal anything to a demon like him, even if he kills her. Ike decides to take matters into his own hands and performs a maneuver that he learned from Korean dramas. Instead of breathing on her face, he simply uses his mind-reading abilities to extract all the information that he needs. He then tells Lily that their job here is done and prepares to leave. Elise calls him out, asking whether he simply came here to make fun of her. He replies that all he wanted to know was whether she sent an assassin, and he now knows that she had nothing to do with it. He tells Lily that they are leaving while she protests as she wanted to spend some time alone with him. Ike is done with these thoughts annoying him, so he simply opens a portal and goes through it. Elise is left puzzled about what just happened. When he comes back to his mansion, Sadie is already there to welcome him. He takes his mask off and hands her a small pouch filled with little grains of rice. She seems confused, as she has never seen this before, but Ike tells her that this is known as rice and is far easier to grow than wheat. She still seems confused, so he explains that currently every person in Arsum is a farmer that grows wheat, which is notoriously hard to grow and needs a lot of men to do hard labor for it to be sold. Compared to that, rice is much easier to grow, which means that they will need fewer farmers, and the remaining men can do other important things like becoming masons, chefs, smiths, etc. This will boost the productivity of the city and help even the poorest people in the city become middle class. Sadie is dumbfounded and still doesn't understand, so Ike tells her that they will have more food, which they will sell for more money. She finally understands the concept and asks whether he knows how to cook it. Ike looks at her and claims he has no idea how to do it. That's why he gives her the duty to try different ways to cook this grain so that they can use it instead of wheat as the primary food.
サービスを提供する人間も増え、料理人とかだな。人間が増えると。サーティ、大丈夫か？ご飯をお腹いっぱい食べられた。はい。早速この米を調理してくれ。
調理方法は。
俺も自分でやったことがないから。
主人様にもわからないこと。
っているのは初め。
このサティ、全力でこし。
After dealing with that, he commands Piggy to assemble his forces and goes outside to meet them in the evening. Piggy has no idea what Ike's intention is to call the entire army for a meeting. It turns out that the arrow used to shoot him belonged to the enemies, but he clearly knows that the enemy commander, Elise, had nothing to do with it. This can mean only one thing: he has a spy in his own army. He decides to use his mind-reading ability to check what each and every soldier is thinking. While Piggy keeps singing over how cool Ike is, he ends up locating one of the demons who starts sweating and worrying whether his cover is blown. Ike immediately teleports in front of him and asks whether he is the spy. He extracts information from the spy and goes on to meet with Saphiro at night. He tells her that he has found a traitor in their army, and she casually asks who it is while taking a bath. He tells her that the traitor is the veteran one-eyed goblin called Jace, who is second in command of the 7th Battalion. He claims that Jace is a war-tested commander who is smart as well. He asks Saphiro what needs to be done. She casually walks out and tells him that they need to make him pay for his treason. The next morning, he goes over to Jace's territory to have a conversation, which scares Jace, who realizes that he has been caught. Ike asks to have a meeting alone with the goblin, but Jace brings more or less an army of goblins to meet with him. Ike tells Jace that he knows about his treason and is here to deliver justice. Jace simply makes fun of him for being dumb enough to come here alone, knowing about him. He tells Ike that his army is twice the size of Ike's army and that all his soldiers will pounce on him immediately if he gives the order. Ike laughs and asks if he was anticipating something like this, which confuses the goblin commander. Suddenly, they hear an explosion. Jace turns around to see huge balls of fire coming down from the sky all over the city, putting them in a frenzy as they all try to run away in different directions. This turns out to be the work of Sephiroth, who has enough magic power to turn an entire city to dust as she keeps hurling down hellfire upon the goblins. Ike runs and hides behind a building, thinking that she should go easy on the buildings as they will have to rebuild them anyways. Sephiroth doesn't care and keeps blasting them away. While Ike appears behind Jace and gives him two options, asking whether he will die a traitor or surrender as a traitor, Jace doesn't seem too keen on either option. He orders his troops to attack Ike, but they are no match for him as he effortlessly beats them one by one. Jace takes advantage of this and starts running on top of the roofs. When a giant demon stops him and tries to punch him, Jace dodges the blow before using a smoke grenade to disappear from the building and then using a portal to escape into the forest. He turns around to see the destruction and vows to destroy Sephiroth before walking away, but a fireball blasts him to the ground. He turns around to see Ike, who followed him all the way here. Ike tells Jace to simply surrender, angry that a brigade commander is giving orders to him. Jace lunges ahead with a punch, only to get easily blocked by Ike, who tells him that resistance is futile. Ike then uses his wind magic to blast Jace into a tree before using binding magic to completely trap him.
抜け道が役に立ったぜ。今回は引いてやるが。貴様。
気つけておいたんですよ。抵抗は無駄なので。
に乗るなよ。俺は大な。
この程度の打撃は通じない。暴力。
黙れ。なんだこれは。
これでもう逃げられません。
俺が悪かった。
Jace finally realizes that there is no way he could win against this guy. Instead, he employs a different strategy and accepts that Ike is stronger than him before putting a proposal in front of him. He claims that all this while, the demons have been fighting against the humans, while the Demon Queen is simply chilling in her castle doing nothing. He tells Ike that both of them together should overthrow the Queen and take control of all the forces. Ike obviously refuses, after which Jace tries a last-ditch effort to throw a knife at him, which Ike lazily dodges. He asks Jace who else is taking part in his treason, but he doesn't reply. Suddenly, Sephiroth arrives at the scene and starts ripping Jace apart as she interrogates him for information. Ike tries to use a healing spell, but it fails. Sephiroth tells him that the poison seems to be very strong. She asks him to give her the name and promises to avenge his death, but just before he can say the name, he Dairokuten. Ike feels bad for the traitor, while Sephiroth tells him to stop being a girly little and grow a pair as she walks away from the corpse. Later that night, both Ike and Sephiroth head up to the Demon King's castle to meet Darrow, who asks what the hell is happening. Sephiroth ended up figuring out the traitor's name and tells Darrow that the traitor is Bass, the commander of the 2nd Battalion. Darrow asks whether she has any proof, and Sephiroth claims that her vice commander ended up defaulting and tried killing Ike so he could slowly gain control over the 7th Battalion and dethrone the Demon Queen. Darrow slowly raises his eyes and looks behind them, asking what Bass has to say about himself. Suddenly, Ike turns around, only to realize that the huge knight without a head standing behind them is none other than the 2nd Battalion commander named Bass. This is the end of The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human Episode 3. Thank you so much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.